qualifying 150 yards. This is a special pair, and it's a Hattons full of grace. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by
a margin that we can still dream about and look forward to in the future. Hello and welcome. Remember us from a week ago, lest you could possibly forget. It is the Champ.ie podcast, and I look ahead to a glamorous, glitzy, glorious, golden weekend of racing with emphasis on staying chasers and on the letter N as well, because of course there's Newcastle on Constitution Hill versus Epitaph, but it is the staying chasers on Saturday at Newbury with the Coral Gold Cup and on Sunday at Navan with the Troy Town that we concentrate on. And let me also remind you, of course, that we want you to get involved by subscribing and also by entering your 5 casts with or without, the choice is yours, the help of our 2, and it says here, experts. I've yet to find out in what. But in all seriousness, live from his kitchen, where I'm sure he does a lot of very, very good work and writes some very good stuff as well, is the Irish Fields rising star, Mr. Ronan Groome, and the founder of Champ.ie, live from that sofa. He doesn't seem to have moved since last week, Barry Doyle. And they're the 2 that will cast their eyes over the 5 races. Now, what are the 5 races for the 5 cast? Let me tell you that. We've 3 from Newbury on Saturday, the ones we'll concentrate on. The 120, the 230, and the Coral Gold Cup at 305. The 325 at Newcastle, the return of Long Press in the rehearsal chase. And then Navan's big race, the Gordon Elliott Show, otherwise known as the Troytown Chase. And that is the Sunday feature. So that's what we're going to do. Remember, you subscribe and then you put your 5 casts in the comments below. You need to have at least 2 winners to qualify, and the winner gets a €20 free bet, courtesy of Boyle Sports. What could be simpler? Okay, as Cyril Fletcher used to say in that television programme, pin back your lugholes, and here we go. And we start with the 120, the race run in honour and memory of the great Sir Peter O'Sullivan, who actually commentated for the final time in Britain on this day. The year Sonny Bay won the Hennessy's, it then was, it now, of course, is the Coral Gold Cup. And we'll talk about that race in a moment. But first, this 120, the Sir Peter O'Sullivan Memorial, which is race 3 on the Newbury card, and a field of 13. And just watch out, don't get caught by surprise. As is tradition in this race, JP McManus's runner, Cap Course, will carry Sir Peter O'Sullivan's colours. That's happened every year the race has been run. Good little race, this. Ronan, not an easy one to start with.
No, not an easy one, but that's what we like, Mike. We want it to be difficult and have a nice betting heat, and that's exactly what this is. I think they're going 9-2 4-1 the field here. Cap Course up there again, and as you rightly point out, in the Spear O'Sullivan colours. He won this race last year in those colours, and actually we have the last 2 winners of this race, the last 2 renewals, because Captain Ord is in there as well. Yeah, the one I was looking at, Demachine, he's always been a horse that I've followed, and I thought he did it well first time up, and I think he's still well handicapped, but I just can't ignore the price on Zanza. It was a bit of a cliff horse for me last season, Zanza, this Philip Hobbs horse. I backed him for the bet Victor. He ran really well there. He flew home and finished 6th to Midnight Shadow. And then I backed him again for the December Gold Cup, and he was running up the arse there. Cool Cody there again, flying home late. Both those races were off. He raced off a mark of 144 and 145. The handicappers give him a right chance because he started the season off a mark of 133 back over fences, 130 over hurdles. Ran a huge race at Weatherby there, just finished second to Carl Philippe. They finished 11 lengths clear the second. I think this extended trip, the 2.6.5, could just be absolutely perfect for him. And I just thought he was too possibly well handicapped to ignore it around 12-1. So that's the way I got into the race.
Pulled up in 3 of his last 5 starts, though. Barry, what do you make of this?
Yeah, it is a tricky one. You're right. the question, I suppose, is which cap course turns up. He did win it last year. Killer Kane is he could be very well handicapped off 128, but he's just a frustrating horse. Potentially blew up and could be laid out for this. Killer Kane, he's 4-1, second in the betting. Mr. Coffee, I think it was mentioned, potential national horse long term for Nicky Henderson. The Machine is always, like Ronan said, I think he's always a horse I've liked as well, and has run well at Newbury in the past. He's obviously has a good record fresh as well. Kerry Lee's horse is in cracking form. The one I've come down on is Dublin 4. Thought it was a real decent effort in finishing second in seasonal reappearance. So he's had plenty of racing, but he could be a 2.5 mile specialist. Ran a real good race, eye-catching race, I felt, at Wetherby last time. And he might have run into one there on that occasion as well, into Overdrive, who of course goes at Newcastle as well. He's in here off the exact same mark. Fergal O'Brien horses, they are running well. I would mention, if he's to step forward, I give him a right chance here at 7-1. He jumps well, he stays, and I think over 2.5 miles, that's his trip. The key is the ground. He'll have no problem on the ground. So there could be more to come from Dublin 4, 7-1 each way to play for me here, Mike.
Yeah, and I tell you, I wouldn't mind a little bit on Champagne Quarter after his win at Newbury last time. The Jeremy Scott yard going well also. Tough little race that. Let's move on to the second of our features, and this is the what used to be known as the Jerry Field and is now an intermediate handicap hurdle. And we've got the two at the top, both of Nicky Henderson's, namely First Street and Theatre Glory. And Nichols unusually with a bottom weight. 4-year-olds against their elders as well, Ronan, to complicate the issue. Do we start at the top or the bottom here?
Start towards the top, because I think that the Skeleton horse here is a good bet. He's 100-30. I think he'll go off clear favourite here. I think.
Let's just stress, sorry, that's Picar, because he's also got Boombone in the race. You're talking Picar here.
Of course, yeah. My apologies. Yeah, Picar is a horse I'm referring to. He's a 5-year-old. He only had 3 starts last season, but he didn't win any of them, so he retains his novice hurdle status for this season. And he had some notable form last season. He was second in Nappers Hill, and he was 5th in the Grade 2 that John Bon won at Haydock. And he came out this season. He won his novice hurdle at Chepstow. I loved the way he did it that day. He got into a bit of a battle there. The front three came clear, but he powered up the run-in at Chepstow to win really well from holding back. And the horse on third, Master Chewy, went on and was probably going to win at Aintree next time out when he fell late on. So I think that form is pretty good. Off a mark of 127 here, this Picar. I think the Skeletons have, bigger ambitions for him. I think he can get into the graded events over in novice hurdles this season. And just coming here to exploit a mark of 127, I'd be disappointed if he didn't end up somewhere like 140s towards the end of the season. I'm sure that's what Dan is thinking as well. I think he could be thrown in here, Picar. I do respect First Street. I thought he's very strong handicap hurdle form last season, and I think he'll go well. And I'd be opposing the 4-year-olds as I usually do in open company. I don't think their form is up to much. Theatre Glory, the Henderson mare, she was mostly kept to her own sex last season and thrown in here first time out as well. So I don't think it's the strongest Real bar First Street. I just think Picar is really well handicapped. I'd be astonished now if he didn't go off clear favourite.
One that catches my eye, Barry, it's a long way to travel as well. Is Nicky Richards sending Paris Encore all the way from Cumbria to Berkshire?
Yeah, interesting in the Nicky Richards, I should say, stable tour. They mentioned about giving that horse one run over hurdles and sending it chasing. So interesting that they stay over hurdles and go for a handicap here. I did look at him, but I didn't come down on him. Mentioning the 4-year-olds, there's 3 of them in here. Teddy Blue, I think, is a head case. I think the dangerous 4-year-old is the Nichols Grivitana. Grivitana, she finished second to one. I think that might have been very well handicapped on her seasonal bow off a mark of 121. That was Herbier, and that was at Newbury. So she's run well at the course. She's only had 4 starts for Nichols. She's down off 121. 10 stone 3, Harry Cobden. She's 12-1. I think she's the danger to what is a unanimous decision. I think Ronan Groome has a spot on here with Picar. I think he's definitely the one to beat. A good run is, he'll probably come forward for that as well. Obviously, he's only had 4 starts in total. Last season, he was 9 lengths behind John Bon. That was a real good effort. Comes in here. His first run of the season was a novice race. He was rated 125. He comes in here off 127. He could be dangerously well handicapped. If you look back at the race, he hit a bit of a flat spot. So I think he done well to win by 5 lengths going away. I could see him, this track would probably suit him even better. A strong run 2 miles in a handicap, 127. I tend to agree with Ronan. I think he'll go off favourite. I think he'll be difficult to beat. Danger is Grivatana, but I'd play Picar at the current prices, as Ronan said, 100 to 30.
Which brings us to the feature, the iconic Coral Gold Cup. 3 miles, 2 furlongs, £250,000 in the pot. Field of 16, 1 Irish runner, namely Bustleton, who was so impressive at Cheltenham. An interesting decision to step him significantly up in trip. And there are 3 runners each from 2 West Country yards. Joe Tizard, who of course won it as a jockey, and his father Colin having previously trained the winner. And David Pipe, who has 3 in the race, to win it again. They are Jericho Rock under Tom Scudamore, remastered, going so well in the race last year, and also the bottom horse but one, Red Happy. So is this bound for Nickel Shane in the Somerset Devon border? Delighted to welcome as our guest David Pipe, doing the grilling, Barry Doyle.
So delighted to be joined by David Pipe, of course, on the Champ.ie podcast, looking ahead to a busy weekend's racing. David's horses going well, 46 winners for the season and over 20% in terms of strike rate.
Yeah, no, we had a good summer and continued on into the winter months. So they're running well, lots of hard work done by everyone back at home. So having a good time.
Super. And treble-handed for the big race, of course, on Saturday at Newbury, the Hennessy. Remasters, Jericho Rock and Red Happy, all declared.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like every trainer, we all want more rain. So we hope it's safe ground on Saturday. Remastered and Jericho Rock ran at Aintree as a prep race in a hurdle race. 3 weeks ago, Remastered was a nice surprise. He ran better than what we thought he would have done. He didn't have the best of preps, so that was it was a really good performance. And Jericho Rock, he was a little bit disappointing. Just got a bit tired. It was his prep run, but we would have liked to see a bit more. So and then obviously Red Happy, he's been kept busy during the summer. I think he's won 6 races, done really well. He's in at the deep end on Saturday, but at the same time, he's got no weight.
I suppose taken Remastered, you mentioned obviously it was a good comeback run. Did he have wind surgery over the summer?
He did, yeah. He had wind surgery, and it looks to have helped him a lot. All his form is on soft, heavy ground, so far from ideal. He was in the process, obviously, of running a massive race last year on good to soft ground. In this race, he fell at the first in the home straight. Would he have won? Well, it's something that no one will ever know. But he goes there in good form, and David Noonan rides him, who won on him at Aintree.
Super. And looking at Jericho Rock, he's run some really solid races last season, obviously finished second 4 times. And I suppose lots of four coming into this race with Korak Rambler, who heads the betting, was just touched off at Cheltenham, but that was a serious run.
Yeah, I mean, he had a fantastic season last season. He's only 6. We feel he's better this year. So we're a little bit disappointed at Aintree. He took a while to get over that race, and he's only just come right in time for this race. Tom Scudamore schooled him this morning, jumped nicely. So we're probably the happiest we've been with him. Literally, a couple of days before the race. Literally, he's only just started sparkling in the last couple of days.
Super. The same ownership across the yard. Good, great supporters of the yard, David. Looking at Eden DeHoo, he's entered up tomorrow.
Yeah, he goes to Foss Lass. Softer the better for him. Hence he's going to Foss Lass. Competitive little race. We've got New Age dawning in the race as well. Not ideal running more than one in a race. But they're both going there for the ground. They need it soft, heavy.
And one that's also entered tomorrow is Antlers Crag. Is he a nice horse?
He is a nice horse. He had good bumper form the season before. A nice performance first night at Leicester. Disappointed at Haydock. He wants soft ground, so he's going to get that. Plan is to go to fences with him, but he's still a little bit of a dark horse, and we're hoping there's room for improvement in his handicap mark.
Super, David. Just to touch upon a couple of, I suppose, horses from the yard that have run so far this season. Wanted to mention, obviously, Panic Attack. That was a real good effort on her most recent start. How's she come out of the race?
Yeah, she's come out of the race well. Jumped really well, probably a bit too well on occasions at Huntingdon the other day. And we're hoping that, I think she's thriving at the moment, and she could develop into a lovely chaser.
Brigado obviously went to the big race at Cheltenham in November. Same ownership, Ramsey's Detail. How are both of those? Ramsey's Detail, great to see him back to winning ways.
Yeah, Brigado travelled well, but didn't finish his race. He probably wants softer ground. And Ramsey Detail, absolute star of a horse. Fantastic to see him win that veterans race at Haydock the other day. He had a Windhoek during the summer that helped him. And the veterans final at Sandown in January is his aim. We'll decide whether he has another run before that or go straight there.
Rising Potsy, good run. He must have been happy.
Yeah, no, look, he's been bought for a Saturday horse, and he's picked up some nice prize money already, and he'll pick up some more. He's in the Tingle Creek at Sandown next Saturday, and he'll also be entered in a hurdle race and a race at Aintree as well. So yeah, he'll do a bit of everything. And, he wants bottomless ground, which we haven't had as yet. And when we do, you'll see him perform even better. Speaking
of bottomless ground, there was one horse I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, he was a point-to-point winner in Ireland before he came to you, David, but seemed to potentially have turned the corner at Lingfield last quarter. It was really tough conditions, but got up to win well off a mark of 108. Got up a couple of pounds, 3 pounds in total. Could he be winning again, do you think?
He should be winning again, but he's not the most straightforward. He wants soft ground. He's got plenty of ability, but he's a little bit quirky. Super. 2 final questions for you, David. Obviously, the weekend, best chance of a winner for the weekend from the Pipe Yard? That's a difficult one because we're only in the Hennessy and we've got a couple at Bangor, so my best chance of a winner is probably only the Bold at Bangor. It's a much easier race than the Coral Cup. Super. Horse to follow for the season, finally, before we wrap up. Make Me a Believer, a good novice herd, a good novice chasing. He's been off with a tendon injury. If he stays in one piece, hopefully he'll be a nice horse to follow. When are we likely to see him, David? He could be out next Friday at Exeter if the ground's soft enough.
Well, I would only say after that I think the ground is going to play a key part in that pipe team. If it were to open the heavens, Jericho Rock would be, I suspect, one of the plunge horses of the race. But what little do I know? Are you? Where do you want to go here, Ronan? 16 of them. It's one of those races where, in all honesty, trying to put a line through anything and saying it's got no chance is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wide open. They're going 7-1 the field. It's a great race. I love this race. Obviously known as the Hennessy affectionately for years and years and years, and still attracts that type of chaser that you wanted back here, the improving kind of unexposed chaser, and it's full of them again this season. Just to explain, for transparency, Mike, I've backed Fiddler on the Roof at a bigger price than he is now. I backed him at the start of the week, but I wouldn't back him at his price now. I think he's a fair price at the moment, or kind of where he should be in the market. So I was trying to approach this race from the fact if I didn't have a bet on the two I wanted to concentrate on. I just thought Remastered would be favourite. If you take what he did last year, As you rightly said, Mike, he was travelling well the last time. I'm not going to say he was definitely going to win or anything. He was way too far out, but he was well fancied for that, and he went off 11-1. That was after finishing third at Aintree in the same handicap hurdle he went to this season. So he's £3 lower over fences this season, and he's actually won the Aintree race that he went to this season. So he's in much better shape. He's a year older, and you're getting 15-2 out of him here. Only a couple of points shorter than he was last year. I think he's in much better shape. I could see him going off favourite. And the other one that's just lured to was Our Power for Sam Thomas. I was doing the previews for his Ascot race. All the chat coming from Sam Thomas and Evan Williams, who trained Ansam there, who were two fancied horses, were that they were being kept back for this race. That race would bring them on. The two of them were up in the van going into the straight, and Ansam fell away down the back into 7th or 8th, and Our Power stayed on and won the race. Now, granted, he beat probably a horse who usually dogs it, Dan Kerwin, in front, but I like the way he stayed on really strongly. And he still beat T-Clipper, who had a run under his belt, and Fitness Angle as well there. And the front three of them came clear. He's only got £5. He's only had 7 starts over fences. 3 of them have won. I do like Sam Thomas as a trainer. Everything he's producing on the track in the big races, the big handicaps these days, seems to go well. And I just thought he has the scope and nice profile for this to kick on, and should be fitter now. So they'd be the two I take against the field at current prices.
Mr. Doyle, what do you make of this?
First of all, it's probably two of my favourites staying handicap chases of the year in the one weekend with this with the Hennessy at Newbury. And obviously we're going to be talking about the Troytown. The sexy ones in here, you mentioned Jericho Rock, obviously a cracking run last year, and the Ultima. There wasn't as much as £1 between himself and Oscar Elite that day. Jericho Rock finished ahead of Oscar Elite. Two of them, I reckon, are laid out. But the ground has to be a big worry here. I mean, you mentioned it. Oscar Elite and Jericho Rock, they're going to need rain, the two of them. Fiddler on the Roof, Ronan mentioned him earlier on in the week. I'm surprised you haven't stuck with him, Ronan, because, you know, if you fancy him 9-1 could still be potentially valued. The one thing I would say against him, just a quick stat, 2 horses in the last 20 years have won this that are 9 years of age or more. It tends to kind of suit maybe a more unexposed chaser coming into it. 5 of those 20 winners have carried 11 stone 6 or more. So I tend to look down, I suppose, horses that will handle the ground, horses that I think the track will suit, and horses that are carrying a reasonably light enough weight here that are open to more improvement. Ronan, I'm surprised you haven't mentioned him. Lord Accord, you were all about him at Wincanton. He's the one I've come down on here. Number 14, 10 stone 4, Richie McLaren riding for Neil Mulholland. The only negative with this horse is the stable form. I think he's had 1 winner in the last 30 runners. So that would be a worry. But I just think he ticks a lot of boxes. I think the track, I think, will suit him. 2 super runs. He won at Cheltenham. He comes in here. He's going to be £4. He's £4 well in on official ratings coming into this particular race off 136. An absolute cracker. He pulled 11 lengths clear of the Nichols horse that finished third in the Badger Beers. Frodon obviously won on that occasion, but you know, I think that was a real good win from Frodon. That was his Gold Cup on that particular day. So Lord Accord, more to come from him. He's only 7, lightweight. I think he'll love the track. He jumps, he stays, and most importantly, he loved the ground. So I think he's a big old price, 12-1. Nibbles for him in from 16s. Each way, Lord Accord ticks a lot of boxes for me in this.
Well, that's Newbury done. Very good steeplechase to Newcastle. For television reasons, this is on last at Newcastle. Really does need to have a more prominent place in the programme. It's the Betfair Exchange rehearsal. 19 fences, almost 3 miles. Long press. We've been waiting for this. Barry and Venetia Williams in the last week. The form book has started to tell a story.
Yeah. It was the big worry last week, wasn't it, with Lahan Press? They come here. It's definitely between the front 2, I think, in the market. I'm just going to side with Into Overdrive first time up. Lahan Press's record fresh now is good, mind you. He's carrying a big old weight. 10 stone 2, number 9 on the card, Into Overdrive. I've already mentioned Dublin 4. who I think will go well at Newbury. If he goes well, this horse is after putting up a sequence, 4 wins on the bounce for Mark Walford. Gets a lot of weight here. The ground will be fine. Interesting, after his win at Wetherby, Walford mentioned the Kim Muir potentially in the spring. This was over 2.5 miles, 2 mile 3 furlongs, I should say, at Wetherby, his on reappearance, this into overdrive. He's obviously stepping up to 2 mile 7. Mentions Kim Muir in the spring. So obviously this horse has no problem. He won very easy. He'll have no problem staying the extra distance. And fascinated that they come here with the bit of ground good in the ground. I think it'll suit him as well. So into overdrive, 4-1, Mike. I'm happy to take that against Navan Press first time up.
Of course, we can't rule out, can we, Ronan, totally. I right, bearing in mind I was very right in this race a year ago.
Yeah, he's a real likable chaser as well. Like, I'm sure he'll have his supporters. He's an honest to God kind of top 150 rated horse. Probably not well handicapped or anything, but he's going to give his running again. And for each way purposes, I'm sure he'll have a lot of supporters as well. Look, it's great to see Long Press start here in a handicap and try and defy a mark of 164. Is the ground going to be much different up at Newcastle compared to Newbury? I know it's good to soft. It's being described as now. And I wonder, when it comes to it on Saturday, we'll be wondering whether Navan Press should have taken his chance in the Coral Gold Cup or something like that, given the difference in ground, because he's trying to do basically the same thing. It's not going to be any easier a race up here, I don't think. And Newcastle is still going to be a bit of a slug over the 7.5. Look, it's not a with Navan Press in there. I think the class angles, it's hard to get a read, and you're either with them or against them. I probably tend to be with them. I think these top class horses can defy these marks and handicap chases. I probably won't play the race. If I was playing one against them, and for the sake of the 5 cast, I'd probably look at Dingo Dollar. He's won over this course and distance before, and I thought he did it really well last time out in his first start of the season at Aintree. He's up to a mark of 150 now, but he's got loads of good form. For instance, he was third in this race last season, and he went very close to winning a Scottish National once as well. So I just thought he did it nicely first time out. Sandy Thompson, Dingo Dollar would do for me for 5 cast purposes, but I'm looking forward to seeing Navan Press and see how he gets on here, whether he's a Gold Cup contender or he's on the right track.
Well, the words having spoken at length to both clerks of the course this week, Newcastle's good to soft, and that is what they were predicting, and that they won't win to ground. But the South's problem is that these tracks are drying up so quickly. Rain Thursday night, Taunton got a soaking Thursday lunchtime, and it was heading up the M4 to Newbury. But then it was very uncertain, and we may end up, only time will tell, whether Newbury actually water on Friday night if they have to ensure it doesn't get any quicker than good. And I keep pinching myself, but although that is true, it is actually November. And then next week will be December. Quite extraordinary. So there we have the first 4 legs. The 5th leg, a bit more uncertainty about because of us talking before the final decks. And so it is to Navan and to one of their flagships, the Troytown Chase, that we now turn. Just looking actually through the years at some of the horses that have won this. Of course, Run Wild Fred won it for Gordon Elliott a year ago. And there are so many of them that have won for Gordon through the years. What do we make of this? Is it a Gordon Elliott bonanza again? Is Uncle Willie or anybody else seriously up for this? What do we think, Barry?
Yeah, one of my best bets of the weekend is in here. Ronan's going to know who I'm talking about. We mentioned it on Monday's show. We put it up at 20-1. He's best price 10s now. He's come for the support. It's going to County Meath, but I don't think it's going to Gordon Elliott. Velvet Elvis. I just love this horse. He's only a 6-year-old, course and distance winner. Won off a mark of 133 at Navan last March. Has had 2 runs since. Finished 6th in the Irish National over 3 mile 5 furlong. I think at the age of 6, that might have been just a little bit too much for him. On ground, I don't think it's soft enough for him. He's only had 6 runs over fences. That sole win obviously did come at Navan. He's had a pipe opener. I'd say this has been the plan for a long, long time. Darragh O'Keefe has jocked up very early. He's obviously been declared soft ground Navan 3 miles. I think this horse could go off close to favourite. And he's probably one of my better bets.
Trained by Tom Gibney, of course.
Yeah, I really
what
like
about the Elliott squad, Ronan? Do we look at Frontal Assault as probably their number one hope if it turns up?
Yeah, definitely. He's very, very similar profile to Runwild Fred last season, in that he was second in the Irish Grand National, and that was what Runwild Fred did as well. And he's that sort of chaser which still has upside. He's only ran 6 times Frontal Assault. He started off the season nicely with a win at Galway. Everything looks in place for him to run well. He looks clear pick of the Gordon Elliott runners, I'd say, Mike. I'm not sure how many he's going to have this year, Gordon. I'd imagine it'll be on the 8, 9, 10 even. He loves to win this race. I do like Velvet Elvis. I think Barry's on the right track there. I would be slightly worried about the run first time out. I'm not sure if they've come out and said what was going on there. It was just a pipe opener or something like that. Ain't That a Shame has got a chance as well for Henry de Bromhead. It was down there on Monday, and he was quite confident on him. He thought it was a bit unlucky in Limerick last time. He's got lots of upside as well. Mark of 142. The one I would be interested in now, obviously we don't have decks, but Liz Doyle's horse here, Flash de Tuzain, I thought he won really well at Galway the last time. He's 16-1 in a place now. He's general 12-1 shot. I don't think he'll be 16-1 shot if he is declared. He beat Real Steel by 8 lengths at Galway. It was just his 5th start over fences. The horse that was in behind him there, 4th, Farster de Large, went on and won at Punchestown last weekend. I think it's pretty strong form, and he really stayed on strongly. Flash de Tuzain. Obviously he's up now to 131. He's got a £9 rise, but he's, as I said, he's unexposed. He's only had 5 starts. He has the scope to get past that mark again, I think. And I think this 3 mile race, possibly with the ground drying out, I don't think will be a huge problem. But the soft ground as it is at the moment will be absolutely perfect. So that'll be the horse I'll probably look to back if he is declared when we get declarations in the morning. Flash de Tuzain.
Well, those are the 5 races. So remember, you've got to subscribe, and you've got to get write your 5 entries into the comments below. And the competition closes at 1:15 on Saturday, which is basically when the runners are at the post for the first race. We've got to give our team time to assemble. So it'll be 1:15 when we have the closing line for the best for the 5 cars. Going to turn things around very slightly now. Let's first though just talk about elsewhere before we come back and do the 5 casts, because you probably need a bit of thinking time, Barry, thinking. What about anything else that's caught your eye on either side of the Irish Sea?
I'll throw one in, Mike. Yeah. Bangor on Saturday, 128. First run after a wind up. Tim Pat for Donald McCain. I think he could be very well handicapped. Heavy ground at Bangor, 3-1. He's one of my best bets of the weekend. Johnny Burke mentioned a horse on last week's show. We're going to see an Edit Star on Friday at Fosslas in the 12:20. Looking forward to seeing him. And Antlers Crag. David Pipe did mention that horse. Potentially could be well handicapped as well. So there are a couple that I'm looking forward to seeing this weekend. Antlers Crag also runs on Friday. And we've already mentioned Velvet Elvis.
Yeah, and we'll like soft ground Anglers Crag. That's the key thing to the horse. He will be no good on good or quicker ground. And then we have, of course, Ronan. We should mention, of course, although he had an entry, Festival Vega doesn't go in the heavy ground at Goran on Saturday. So we need to wait for his first appearance. But what we do have is a very good card at Goran on Saturday with lots of runners. Then the Troytown. You must have caught something. You must have caught your eye somewhere.
Yeah, the Goran card will go a bit under the radar on Saturday, but I advise anyone to watch it because Manila Kakuna and Journey with Me take each other on in the first race there, the Beginner's Chase. That's a cracker. Manila Kakuna, obviously a proper grade 1 horse last season, and Journey with Me probably didn't get as much opportunities to show him, but he looked up to that standard as well. And Henry thinks he's a 2.5 mile type of horse now, not a 3 miler, and it's interesting to see Manila Kakuna going back and trip. Look as well, there's the group, there's a novice hurdle there, and Willie's got one in called Spanish Harlem. This horse cost 360 grand, bought out of France last during the summer.
Dr. Fitzgerald, is it?
Yes. Really interesting, right? Because Duvan and Charger won this race for Willie before, and see, Willie often runs like a horse that he's got from France, like Franco de Port. Gordon won it with San Felician last year, but both those horses had won in March, if I'm right, or at least won the season before, so they didn't qualify as novices. Because Spanish Harlem won in June in a toy, I'm pretty sure he still qualifies as a novice here. Cost 360 grand. If he won impressively here, as I said, Duvan has won this race before for obviously winning all before him. Keep an eye on him for the Supreme Novice Hurdle market. I think he could be really interesting. And just one more, a couple more from Gordon, because I did the preview and might as well shout them out. Willie Wampus, he's in the Beginner's Chase there. It's a specified Beginner's Chase where you had to be rated 102 or lower over hurdles last season, which he was, but he possibly ran to about 120 when he was second to Kilcrush last week at Punchestown. He was the only one who really went with him. He led it all the way there, so he's got a really nice opportunity. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing the way the bookies price that up. And Gevry runs for Gordon in the handicap chase there over 2.5 miles. It's not the strongest race, and he looks like he has really good recent form, and he also was a very good second. One of his best ever runs came on heavy ground at Gordon, which is going to be on Saturday. So lots to look forward to. Keep an eye on Gordon, and especially that Spanish Harlem, and obviously the first race, well worth watching at Gordon on Saturday.
Okay, well, it's time to now nail some colours to the mast here and see how we go with our naps and next bests, and also, of course, our 5 casts. So why don't we start with the 5 races? Let's give you the 5 races, and I come to each of you. Simply, please, the name. So the first race is the 120 Newbury Saturday, the Sir Peter O'Sullivan Memorial, and the winner is Barry Doyle.
Dublin 4.
Ronan.
Zanza.
Move on to the 230, the Jerry Fielden. The winner is Ronan.
Picar.
Unanimous.
Barry.
Picar.
We have a unanimous decision. 305 Coral Gold Cup. Great race in prospect. Who wins it, Ronan?
Yeah, I'm going to take a chance with Our Power.
And Barry?
Lord Accord for Neil Holland.
And then on we go then to the Newcastle finale, the Betfair rehearsal. Long press or not long press, Barry?
I'm going to go into overdrive to continue his winning sequence for Mark Walford.
Mr. Groome?
Yeah, to be honest, I probably should just go long press, but I'm going to take a price and take a chance on Dingo Dollar.
And then it's a Sunday, Bar 1 Racing Troy Town. Obviously, we haven't seen the final field, but what does the crystal ball tell you, Ronan?
Yeah, I'm very interested in Flash Juzane if he runs, so I'm going to go with him. Hopefully, he is declared tomorrow morning.
And Mr. Doyle.
Like me the day of my wedding day, Mike Vince, Velvet Elvis.
Oh, blimey. Well, I actually think Flash Juzane will go well in the Troy Town, but we'll see. All I would say is we now come to the moment of truth. Podcast nap. So, nap, Mr. Doyle.
Velvet Elvis. Next best Tim Pat at Bangor.
And Mr. Ronan Groome.
Yeah,
Irish Field's finest.
Yeah, best out of a bad lot. Nat Picar 230 in Newbury, and I will next best Gevry in the 105 at Gordon Park.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Where is Coyle? I hear you cry. He's gone in search of his crystal ball. I think it was his crystal ball. He said.
We have a winner from last week, Mike. We have a winner from last week.
He did actually have a winner last week, and I think we've got a winner from last week. So €20 free bet is going to
Stuart Ball. He had Botox Has and Fontaine Collonge both winning last week. So that was and he put in actually as a next best last week, Deep Cave. We put it up as an eye catcher. I think that's a horse that'll be winning races for Henry de Bromhead.
Well done to Stuart. Yeah. Barry will sort out the necessary. And remember,
get in touch. Get in touch via Twitter.
That euro again, €20 free bet. So you must subscribe, and you put the 5 horses in, and then we take it from there. And next week, of course, we're looking at Tingle Creeks and Boyle Sport Beecher Chases. Some quite important news coming next week as well about this Champ.ie podcast, which is a no expense spared production. Thank you for the orange juice, Barry. And we will talk 7 days from now. Good luck with your weekend. And let's hope that we're talking about horses, please, not about ground and not about late non-runners. Every sympathy for all those involved. But there was some racing last Saturday you might have forgotten. There is this Saturday too, from all of us. Have a good week.
So absolutely delighted. We're very lucky to we're joined, believe it or not, by Nicky Henderson, who's up in Newcastle. I think he's been camping out for the last couple of days. Nicky, and of course ahead of the big clash, Constitution Hill and Epitante this weekend. And the big question is, Nicky, what way's the ground?
Well, I've travelled up last night, and I'm here in a tent at the ground at Newcastle. I walked the course just moments ago, and my stick has gone down probably to the right area for Constitution. Epitante, I'd like it to be a further inch up the stick, but can't have it everywhere. I'll speak to Michael tomorrow, and I'll also have a word with JP. So, I'll be here for the next 3 days at Newcastle, but at the moment, I'm happy because, look, he is the future. And right now at Newcastle, I have to say it's all tickety-boo.
Brilliant, Nicky. We might come back to you because I have 1 or 2 questions to ask you in relation to, of course, Shishkin. But we're going to head straight back home because I do believe Willie Mullins is with us on the line, and Willie's going to give us his thoughts on State Man. What a performance it was in the Margiana, Willie.
I suppose it was good. After jumping the first, I said to David Casey, who was beside me watching the race, he could be potentially an Arkle horse. He's got many options.
Okay.
We could run him at Christmas. We could run him in Leopardstown in February, Cheltenham, Easter Festival at Fairyhouse, or Punchestown.
Brilliant. Now we're gonna go down because just 5 minutes down the road, would you believe it? There's another Yank in Shark Cannon's yard. Richie, you're on the line.
Very delighted. How are you? I was at Willie's and I met about this Hewitt. I think he's a Gold Cup horse, and I've just jumped down. I'm with the Shark, and he's just given him a spin up the gallop, and I have to say he is moving absolutely beautiful. It's a delight that I've offered the Shark money, but he wants to keep him in training. But
well, there's rumours, Rich. There's rumours that was it a bit of £300,000 got in for Hewitt? Was that you?
Plus. I'm plus. I don't know who put in that offer, but I'm plus. It's more than that, and I'm hoping to secure him for what I'm going to offer.
Well, wait, just wait there because Michael O'Leary's on the line. He's something to say about this. O'Leary, come in.
I was the one that put in the bid for 300,000. I'm going to give the Shark a couple of horses. Once he decides the next time a horse is going to the States, that he flies Ryanair. And that will be a big thing for me and the Shark getting horses. It's very, very simple. But as it goes, I am the top dog, Richie, now with Willie Mullins is in Clonsutton. You are going to become, no matter who buys Hewitt or gets him, I am the top dog. And I'm back. It's simple. I'm back.
Michael, hold on. You promised the Shark Cannon on this show a couple of horses.
I did. I promised him many horses, and I'm still in the process of buying those horses. And I've said to him, if he sees any nice pointer, I'm willing to buy it. I've heard nothing back since then. Remember the last time he was in America with Hewitt, he travelled Aer Lingus. And I have as much chance now of getting a couple of horses, and hopefully they'll be with him soon. And hopefully the next time Hewitt goes for the American Grand National, I have to say...
Hold on, Michael. Willie's just dying to get back in. He's not happy. Willie, you've something to say about this Gold Cup.
Yeah, look, Allaho, I'm looking at the Gold Cup for him. And look, lads, Michael and Rich, look, can you ring me privately? This isn't the place for a discussion like this. And Rich, you get back up here. I didn't allow you to leave the yard. And if you can get back up here ASAP, and we'll discuss. Thanks.
Back to Newcastle, Nicky Henderson. You're still with us, I believe, Nicky. And look, come here. How are we fixed for a bit of Shishkin and Urgemead? Round 2 at Ascot.
Well, I'm afraid to say we can't. At 7 Barras, we've decided to wait until Cheltenham. Shishkin is good, and no, as simple as we can't. It's just we can't do that at the moment, and we won't, and we'll face him and the tape strong.
And what about Plumpton next Monday? I believe there's a 2.5 mile 3-runner contest. Is that an option?
It's funny you should say and mention Plumpton, because if Constitution Hill and Epitante don't run on Saturday, I've just walked another piece of the course since you were last with me, and my stick has not gone down. So there's every possibility that Constitution Hill and Epitante could do a bit of work under Nico, and I'm not sure who I'll get to ride the other one, but there could be a piece of work on Monday at Plumpton. And as we could say, no matter what happens this weekend, I think it's fair to say it will be all tickety-boo from everyone at 7 Barras.
And we'll catch up with Nicky Henderson right throughout the season, and Willie Mullins, of course. Thanks to the guys for dropping in. And we'll see you next week.